What is a Tesla Supermanifold, and do you want to know how it works? Well, visit Nixon's Expert website and go and check out how it actually works. We've got your back. At Nissens, it's very important for us that the systems are clean, especially heat pump system, but of course also normal AC systems. What I've got in front of me is actually what we call a Supermanifold from Tesla. Tesla have heat pumps in their vehicles, or some of them, and actually we are seeing the Supermanifold being part of the heat pump efficiency that we are seeing is crucial for electric vehicles. It's from 2021 and it's not every single model, but what we are seeing is that this Supermanifold has actually made it possible for Tesla to make the car even more efficient than it was before. And efficient, that I don't mean horsepower, I actually mean that it can drive further per charge. And that's the most important thing that we have with electric vehicles today, is that it has to go as far as possible on a charge, meaning that we want to use as less energy as possible when we run the heat pump system, meaning creating cool air and hot air, and in general, keeping the battery temperature correct when it goes on electric vehicle. So with this Supermanifold, we got around 30 different ways of redirecting the flow to make the vehicle most efficient the way we want it, or actually Tesla engineers wanted it. It's a fairly complicated device, but again, if you look at it and if you see how you can actually change the different components, it's fairly easy. If you take the solenoid valves like this and you determine or diagnose yourself into a situation where you find out that one of the solenoid valves is actually not working the right way or having a failure, you can easily replace it just by buying a new solenoid valve. Actually just place it on the Supermanifold like this or screw it in. And once you've done that, you can actually just use the solenoid valve and put it back in. So that's how simple it actually is to replace one component. But as you can see, it's got many, many different ways of redirecting the flow. So if you do have a compressor failure, what's going to happen is that you might actually have debris, metal debris, or you could actually have contaminated oil, which is black, dirty, or something else. That means that all that oil gets into these chambers. That has to be flushed. You can do two things, or I'm saying it has to be flushed, but it could be flushed. But you can do another thing. You could actually replace the entire assembly. That's fairly costly. It's not very time consuming because you just remove everything. But you could also flush it just by using a flushing machine or an AC machine that could actually flush and flush the entire unit to make sure everything comes out. That means that you're reusing the Supermanifold, which could be done. But you also need to remember to check these heat exchangers, which is designed by using macro tubes in it, parallel flow macro tubes. They get very easily blocked. If you do have metal debris, if you do have black heavy oil in that system, they will definitely be in there. So if you do flush the system, make sure that you use the visual diagnostic tool afterwards to make sure that everything is working the way it should, everything is actually clean. Because you have to remember, a Supermanifold that is not working completely correct or is not adjusting correctly will not create the right efficiency for that vehicle, because that controls the heat and cooling function. And if the heat and cooling function for an electric vehicle doesn't work perfectly, that means that the battery pack will not work under the right circumstances, meaning that you will not be able to drive as far as you possibly could on a charge. So when we do look at these things, we are looking at efficiency, and we're also looking at something as unique as UV dye, which everybody's using today. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, it depends on how you see it, but on a heat pump system, it is not allowed to add UV dye due to circumstances within the compressor, insulation issues, and so forth. So if you if you by any chance do add UV dye to one of these systems accidentally, or if you don't know you're not supposed to do it, it means that you still need to flush this Supermanifold. So in any way, shape, or form, you have to be aware that this is mounted on a lot of different Teslas in the market today. We are seeing different versions of manifolds on different vehicles as well, especially in the European market, where we're seeing CO2 units or CR744 units being introduced more heavily into the market today. That's of course only for Europe, so therefore in the US that's not as important. But of course you do have the Supermanifold where you have to have the same approach as you would have with the CO2 or R744 units in Europe.